Hello, everyone. Welcome to SureFire Live. I've kind of stopped doing the intro part to see how it trends out because when it does the thumbnail of the show out there, it kind of tends to just show the same thing over and over. So maybe with a different image, it will trend out a little bit differently. So we'll see. I don't know that you have to have the intro, but sometimes it's nice to let the audience gather as it's getting you get noticed and you sign on. So but we'll try it this way for a while. So welcome. Tonight I wanted to talk about I consult with a decent amount of businesses, and one of the things that people can't tell is when they are the issue. You built the company or you're working the company. And I was doing some research for this topic, and almost everything I found was how the boss is bad, or how do you know when you work for someone that's bad or you work for a bad company environment. And that's fine, and there is that, but also, though, the other side is, how do you know if you're the problem? And I'm going to talk about how I've known I've been the problem at certain things, and some of the things I thought I was actually good at, um, and later realized that I was the issue, or possibly just holding the company back from what could be, since I was in charge of the thing. So we'll talk about that. So welcome. It's two-way conversation. I am super happy to do this every week when I can, and I can sometimes combine this into my podcast because I can't create content all the time for both shows, and I don't have a writer. I don't have any help, and clearly got other things to do. But I like doing it. I really like having a conversation. I always look forward to this, and so please talk to me when if you're out there in chimney world or in business world. I'm hooked in. There's a lot of people that watch this on LinkedIn too, and so it's just just conversation. This week I had a guy call me. He's starting a new IT company. I met him at an event I was at, and we hit it off. Bernard Cobb. Bernard is jumping out there to do some things, and he had some questions about a lot of this, the startup things. How do I do this? How should I do this? Make sure you do these kind of things, and I always enjoy doing that. And I really like seeing people get successful at whatever they're doing, whether they're working for a company or they're starting their own company. Because I can tell you this, starting your own company isn't for everybody. And everybody out there that owns a company will tell you that's a fact. The employee issues are probably the hardest thing, but the second hardest thing is uh it's in yourself. It's deciding what to do and what not to do. And if you're a hard worker, you kind of feel lazy when you start delegating a lot. And so I want to talk about that tonight. So we got a nice little crowd gathering here. I want to make sure I'm watching my other feed in case there's questions on the other side. So let me turn this down. And here we go with this. Mark. Here we go. All right. So we're going. We're off and going. I hope that's not playing. Okay. All right, so let's talk about there was I should have put this little graphic together for this that was showed a vampire in case you are the problem, and and here's some signs to figure out if you are the problem. So this came from a author that I really like a lot named Mark Manson. Mark Manson is the guy who wrote the book. The Art of Not Giving a F. That book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F. And then he had some other books as well that I've always enjoyed a lot of his stuff. Sometimes he gets political, and I wish he wouldn't. But he wrote this article that I read, that 7 signs that you are actually the problem. And I thought it might be a fun topic for tonight. So again, two-way conversation. Please say hi to me. Let's talk. And also, anything that I talk about, if you have an idea or you have even an opinion that's different than what I'm going to say, let me know what you're thinking. All right, so here we go. The number one thing in his list was, you feel that no one understands you or your problems. And I think I've got, no, I don't have it in here. So we called it the torture genius problem. Sometimes we have employees and people that work for us, and even ourselves, that feel like they're out on an island. They feel like they are not understood. People around them are not. I had a project manager one time that just continuously, and he was brilliant. He was great. He was very great, but everybody else was stupid. And when he would talk to me, all these other people are the problem. He would kind of talk down to people, and then also, obviously, if somebody's talking bad about other people, they talk bad about you too, guaranteed every time. And so, you find out he's doing this kind of stuff. But I met with him one time, and I said, when he was about ready, we had to fire. We let him go, but we didn't want to. And I said, the problem with you is that you think everyone else is the problem, and you never point the finger back at you. And this problem is going to follow you no matter where you go. It's going to follow you into your next jobs. It's going to follow you in your home life. It's going to follow you everywhere. If you feel that you're the torture genius, and everybody around you is just not up to it, that's a sign that you're the problem, right? It's the people who can recognize that in themselves. Now, there's nothing wrong with being specific, or really holding people accountable to things. But when they are always a problem, then and then no one understands what you're going through. And clearly that's the first sign that you are the problem. Secondly, you always complain that you're not appreciated. Now, I don't know how many owners that I ever talked to say that, but I can tell you, you feel that you're not appreciated. I can feel that, as an owner, sometimes I feel like I do a lot of things for people, and there's a few people that do things back, but the vast majority of people don't. And I have been in that situation where you're like, man, I mean, I have done all these things. I feel like I've done all these things. And people don't give a crap. And other people can see it. They're like, I've watched them. You do all these things for people, and they don't reciprocate it back. But I think for me, I just have to understand that it's not worth complaining about. If I'm doing something for someone else, if you are, don't expect to get anything back. The reward is you doing it for someone, not in them, praising you or bragging on you or doing anything. So, do you complain that you're not appreciated? Do you feel that way? I've had, again, I'm going to have to talk about myself, because I'd have to have other people talk about me, how I am to work with. But some of this is a realization for me as as I've built these companies, what I'm good at, what I'm not good at. But there are people that for sure need you to appreciate them. They actually thrive on that. They need to be recognized. Sometimes they act out to make sure they're recognized. And sometimes you just have to be aware. Some people hate it if you call on them. If you call on somebody in public, they might absolutely crumble and hate you for calling on them. And other people absolutely need you to do it. But you got to watch those people that, if they're constantly underappreciated. I had a situation the other day where a person, we were into a bit of a argument about things, and the guy's like, "Man, I work my ass off for you," blah 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 blah, and I'm like, I always have a problem with that, because they, one, don't know how hard I work for them, and two, one of the issues was, well, I won't go into it, but basically, he couldn't have been working his ass off and have this other problem that we had. And the two things couldn't be the same. I'm like, if you working for me is a problem, then that's a you thing. I supplied the job. I made the position. I supplied the role. You answer the call and you do the role, and I pay you to do the role, and you do the role, and it benefits the company, and it's a, mutual benefit. So you can't really work your ass off for me, right? I mean, again, it's a two-way street. I do that for you too. You have no idea, as an owner, all the things you have to do to even make jobs for people. So again, if you're the owner and you feel underappreciated, and that shows in anything you do, that could be a sign that you're the problem. If you're an employee and you always feel this way, could be a sign. Here's your sign, as Jeff Foxworthy says. Let me check the chats here. I think we're good. Everybody's pretty quiet tonight, which is totally fine. All right. So the next one is you believe that you rarely get the attention that you deserve. I think this one kind of falls in the same category that the other one does about being appreciated and sometimes getting attention. I had a technician also recently that I found out was trying to solicit, to work for someone else. And but the person hadn't hardly talked to me at all. I mean, like they kind of had worked for me for a little bit, and they kind of can fall under the radar. But I tell this to everybody when they first come to me. I said, please come to me with problems. Don't be quiet. Don't have issues, and don't and think I don't care, or think that and don't tell me about them and then go do something on the side. I tell that to everybody. Just please come to me so I have a chance to do something. I say Ashbusters was built on problems. I mean, it built on people complaining and problems, and then we learn to overcome them. We learn to take that complaint and try to fix it, or have a system. And sometimes if somebody complains all the time and they're not a good fit, they've got to go. But the whole business was built on people complaining. I said, so don't come work for me and then not complain, not tell me. And there's a right way to complain and a bad way to complain, but tell me when there's a problem. Well, come to find out, this technician solicited a friend of mine. Said, hey, I don't think I'm being, appreciated here. I think I could do more somewhere else. Please, it's a beginning of busy season. And I was just floored. I couldn't believe that. I had no idea. And in the comments that this person wrote to someone else was longer than any conversation I had ever had with the technician. I'm like, my gosh, how about just sending me that email? So anyway, we had a long talk, and then I went back and talked to that technician, got some things worked out, and I understood where he's coming from. It wasn't that he was totally wrong. It was just he took the wrong approach. And he felt under the radar, and he was. But man, I need you to come. If you feel that way, you at least at first have to approach the person or the people that can do something about it. And if you don't, again, this behavior would follow this person job to job to job. Probably would always feel that way, because if you don't tell the person that's in charge or can do anything, that's your fault. It's not their fault for not reading your mind. It's not their fault for not understanding your life and what you need. It's your fault for not communicating that. And that's what I told this person. I said, man, there's way too many things for me to look at. I tend to look at whatever is the problem. And if someone's quiet or under the radar, I mean, I might luck out and say something to you at the right time and you tell me, but you have to make a beeline to me. If there's a problem, it's only respectful for you to talk to me and help me make this thing better. If I'm the one that needs to make it better, by God, give me a chance to do it, right? Don't let me pay all this money to train you and do all these things and then leave, and I had no idea what happened. Anyway, a little bit of a rant, but I'm sure other people know exactly what I'm talking about on this. All right, the next one was, again, these are the 7 signs that you are actually the problem. You assume that other people have it easy while you are scraping by. Man, I've got got these stories of people that when I read this article, that certain people jumped out. Are you that person? Do you feel that, if you're watching other people on Facebook, or you're watching other people in life, that they've got it easy and you're over here dealing with whatever you're dealing with? That is a death sentence. I have a person I'm pretty close to that likes to complain when other people are doing well. Like, it's like they're rich and this person is not. So therefore that person must have done something wrong, or this person that complained got the bad hand in life. And if you've read very many biographies, or you study successful people very much, you realize that the most successful people a lot of times have had the hardest life, way harder than you. way harder than you typically. And they use that, there's, I think it's, post traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, but there's also post traumatic success after a hard event, that just as many or more people can take that traumatic event and make something better from it versus worse. And I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying it's possible to take a very traumatic event and make it your reason why you are successful. In my story, I ran a one person operation for a very long time, and then I fell off a roof and got hurt pretty bad and tried to sell the business. And then when I couldn't sell the business, I realized I had to focus on being a better business person, not a better technician. And so, I spent the last, 14 years since that accident. No, gosh, more than that. It's 2003. So long time. Uh, so I spent that much time, 19 years, focusing on being a better business guy instead of being a better technician. And, my life changed quite a bit. But I could have taken that moment and totally gone off track. I could have blamed, right now I've had to have a hip surgery. I've had other surgeries because of that fall a long time ago. But to me, it was one of the best things that could have ever happened to me because it changed my trajectory in a way that I would have never chosen for myself. So I always assume if you're super successful, you've had to work your tail off to do it. Yes, some people get lucky and they do something, but a lot of times that luck runs out. It doesn't stay with you. A lot of times success is through a grind that you can't see from the outside. If you're watching somebody, I went to a tour of homes this weekend, amazing homes. These homes are $5 to $8 million. And in my area of the country, that's a hell of a house. They're 7,000 to 10,000 square feet, just immaculate. And I could help, I could see some people were in there were kind of mad and like complaining about things. They would never own the house. And they had this thought about the people who would buy it already, and you don't even know the people. But I find a lot of times the super successful people are some of the coolest people. They're the best people. And of course they're bad, but there's bad poor people too. But a lot of times that super successful person, there's something special about them. There's something that I shouldn't say that. Sometimes they're as plain as, cornbread, but they just work their tail off. I sit next to a guy at hockey games that I never knew was super rich. He is a hog farmer, and he looks like a farmer. He sits there and he just looks rough, and he's quiet, and he's nice, but there's nothing special about him. He would never go, "Oh, I had no idea this guy was rich. He owns 250,000 acres. He has 500 employees. He has some of the most. Well, how I found out he was rich as he is he wasn't there one day, and this other guy sat there, and this guy was real chatty. He was a salesman. And I said, "What do you do?" He goes, the guy who sits here is my main customer for the whole United States. I'm like, "What do you do?" He goes, "Sell John Deere equipment." He's like, he is the guy for John Deere in the state of Tennessee and then in the middle of the country here. And I'm like, "Why?" And he's like, he told me who he is and what he does. And I don't want to go into it here in case it's not, but I had no idea this guy but again, he's rich and he just works. He works and he's innovative and he thinks of new ideas and he cultivates his ideas. And his dad set him up in a small hog farming business, and this guy just blew it out of the water through being very innovative. But I don't know. I never assume people that anybody has it. They have it easy while I'm working my tail off. I think it's all about the work. So, all right, the next one. You have little or no curiosity in the lives of others. It can be hard to always be interested in everybody else for some people. But I'll tell you, it's one of the ways I judge you. It's one of the ways I judge people, and not you. I don't even know who's watching, but it's in if I watch somebody become interested in someone else, there's something that's very amazing about it. And if somebody becomes interested in what I'm doing, Now, there's some people that have no interest in you, and I can see it in people I work with. Like they never really want to learn from anybody else. They're just focused on themselves. They don't ask you questions and listen. When you're talking, they can't wait to start talking. They want to start talking about them. They don't ask follow-up questions and more. They're not curious to another level. My wife's cousin is a lawyer. He's one of the most curious people I've ever been around. He will never talk about himself if given any chance. He will always keep asking you questions about your life, how you did this, why you think that, how do you do this, what's about that. Like he is one of the most curious people I've ever met. So therefore, you kind of always like talking to him. He's always curious about your life, what's going on with you. He's just always interested, and I learned a lot from that from him. Just again, there's a book, obviously everybody should have read it, How to Win Friends and Influence People. One of the main topics on this is being curious and being a good listener and asking questions about them, like real questions, like not what do you do, but then after what do you do, how do you relate to that? How do you find out more? How do you ask good questions? That's the key to leadership anyways. It's in the questions. It's not in the answers. Ask better questions, and have true curiosity about people and their lives and how things are really going and what they're doing. And people will, if you're that person, if you never ask these kind of questions, you may be the problem. So let me keep going. Got a nice little crowd here, but everybody's quiet. Everybody wants story time. As you can tell, I'm still jammed up in my upstairs bedroom. They're really coming along on the downstairs kitchen and the in my office and all these kind of things. They brought all the cabinets in, so we're waiting on the countertops. They're finishing up the drywall and the paint. Really good guys, really great guys, and they work on a few jobs, but they came in and they work for me. They're like, man, we love working for you. You're easy to work for. Like they've got other customers that they do not like working for. And it's how you treat people. I'm a fan of theirs. I mean, they're blue collar guys and I talk blue collar. They're like, I understand them. And, but you can do that with anybody and anything. Next, you often fight with close friends or loved ones. Now, I don't know this at all. I don't fight with friends or loved ones. But again, this is one of his things. If you do this, you are the problem. If you're constantly fighting with them, and you have problems with your close people, well, here's the other one. He said 7 things, but this is number 6, and number 7 was this. And it's always their fault that you're fighting with them. Then you are the problem. He really leaves you sick. So I added one here at the end. But so do you fight with people that you love a lot? Wife, kids, family members, mom, dad, sister, brother. And is it always them that's the problem? Well, by this survey, you're the problem. You could be the problem. There was something else. I want to reread this on my phone because I'm going to finish and then I'm going to read what he says at the end of this, about, he kind of sums it up at the end. So I want to make sure I have that ready. Let's see here. Where is it? Let me just go ahead and go to my last one while I look for it. Can't find it. Where is it? I don't want to mess the show up. Okay, so this is more of a business one if you're the problem in business. And here it is. You are too needed. This is the number one problem with most business owners, that they are too needed. They have built who they are around being needed. I was one time, I talk a lot about not being needed. I try to create a business that I'm really not needed in. Ideally, I want them to want me to be there, but not need me to be there. That's what you really want, is that you're wanted, that you help people, you benefit their lives when you're there, but they don't need you to be there. And that is the balance that I always fight for. Now, I've been gone a lot this summer. When I get back, there's a handful of problems that are in my purview that I got to fix. But but I really work to not have a job in my businesses. I'll give you an example. I don't even own keys to any of my businesses, my buildings. Now, one of them is an app, so I can get in the business of the app, but the other ones have keys or combinations to get in. And I always have to ask somebody else to let me in because normally they're already there working, and I don't need to get in. But I also don't have a desk, or I don't have a an office that is mine that I have to work in. Now, I do have a space at Ashbusters, but the computer doesn't work. There's no the seat isn't even there. I'll sit in the office and have meetings with people, but I really don't. I really focus on not being needed. I focus on being there to help, but there's nothing I have to do. And I've noticed with a lot of companies, a lot of business owners especially, they're so needed that they become the problem. Now, I'm going to talk about how I have learned some things where I thought I was good at and I wasn't. And I've talked about it before, but for me, judging people, I'm not really that good at. And here's what I mean by that. Um, I see people too clearly that they are going to do great. They're going to be great people. They're going to do the right thing. They're not going to lie to me. They just need a little more coaching, or they need a little more love, or they need a little more mentoring, and they'll do better. And I have this faith in people that sometimes it pays off, but in the last couple of years, last probably year and a half, I've been wrong more than I've been right, and I really don't like that. I got a comment here. LaShonda Bryant. Hey, LaShonda, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Haven't seen you for a while. She was in my BNI group, and you talk about, man, we had some fun times. She would sit next to me, and we would be like the two kids getting in trouble in class, and we would just make fun of stuff and laugh the whole time. And LaShonda is a fantastic insurance agent, and just, she's a superstar. So I hope you're doing well. She moved away from me. She moved away. She has a really funny story. She's got a bunch of funny stories. But anyway, I haven't seen her for a while. I hope you're doing good, LaShonda. Good to see you. And thanks for tuning in. But I lost my spot because LaShonda jumped in. But well, I'll tell you about my judgment of people. I thought that, again, one of my fallacies when I had so many people and I had to get rid of them was I just kept thinking, hey, give them a hug, give them a job, give them some money, do the thing, and then they'll do the right thing. Well, Kent, who's my chief operating officer, he said he's more skeptical. He's a lot more skeptical than I am. He's hired and fired thousands of people over years, just working for a lot of big companies. And he comes into mine, and I'm more, close held people. And that's fine to a degree until somebody is really not cutting the mustard, and they're just not doing it. There's no hope for them. And so probably out of the last 10 people that we've had to let go, he was right about 9 of them. Like he called it early, and like out of the last 10 people, only one of them of that we thought were going to be gone is still with us and actually thriving after the cheering session and the love and the mentoring, and they actually came up. But the majority of people he was right about. So I decided this year that the thing that I'm not going to do is be the judgment of that. I will coach them up when they're here. I will give them, while they're playing ball with us, I will give them everything I can. But if they get to the edge of being fired or let go, I'm going to let him make that call because I'm wrong. I'm wrong about it a lot. And I would love to say I could, I have a different track record, but I don't. I just always believe people are going to do great. I always believe they're going to come through it and get better. And they just sometimes aren't. And sometimes firing the people is the thing that you have to do to make them better. And that was hard for me to learn. Sometimes losing something for people is the thing that makes them stronger. Pain is a great motivator, right? Pain is the best motivator. There's no better motivator than pain. And so sometimes firing people is the main thing. I do have to show you my coffee cup. I told you I'm out of my kitchen and everything. So sometimes you're kind of scrambling for coffee cups. So I just want to make sure you guys know that I am the best aunt ever. And so my wife gave me that as I was looking for a coffee cup. So I am the best aunt ever. It's my preferred pronoun at this point. All right. So talk to me, people. If not, we will call it an early night and let everybody get back to their evenings. But are you too needed? Are you the problem in your business? If you are the problem in the business, what are the aha moments? I can tell you that that it's hard to recognize it, and sometimes you have to be told. Like, so that's another time when you might need a coach, you might need a mentor to come into your business, because the best coaches will tell you the hard truth. They will tell you, when you're terrible at something or something you need to know about, when your employees can't tell you that, or your wife or your husband can't tell you that because they might not be in the business with you, or you might be too close to it and it might cause some problems. And so sometimes here's the main way, is if you're not getting the results that you want, if you're not getting the results even that other people are getting, you can see all these other companies are super successful and your company isn't, and you're struggling at this certain level and you've been there for a long time. You need help. You need somebody to step in and look from the outside. And most importantly, when they tell you what to do, you need to do it. You need to at least try it. You need to at least try what a coach says, or a business person says, or even what a book says, or something that you believe in. One of the best ways to get anywhere in life is just copy who's in front of you. Find out what they did, how they do it, and copy as many things as you can from them. You don't have to reinvent this thing at all. There's so much success everywhere around you that you just have to copy it. But here's the problem. You're stuck with what you believe, and you won't change what you believe because it got you here. And that's what I talked about last week, about mistakes that new leaders make, because they did all these things and it got them here, but it won't get you there. And so you should always question everything about your business. You should be ready to tear down any of your thought processes, any of your systems should be ready to be torn down at any point. If you find a better system, be ready to shred the other system if needed. If you've made that decision and you got to go full forward with it, sometimes again, it's hard. We shredded one of our estimating systems this last year, and we've built a new one and it's a lot higher. It's more expensive. It's harder to use. All the things that you don't want to have happen, it's doing it. And our sales are down in some ways because of it. But dude, we're full into it. So this week we're going to have another work session to make it a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. But we're not ever afraid to just kind of tear something completely down to build it up. So again, if you think that way, if you think what got me here, that is going to keep working and make us more and more successful, and you stall, your business is stalled. Your business is not getting better. Your life is not getting better, actively getting better. You are the problem. And if you blame, hey, I can't get good employees. Well, you can't get good employees because they don't want to work for you, or they don't want to do the job that you've made for them. It's not necessarily them. Now, again, there's all kinds of bad employees. I don't mean that. But if it's constant, whatever thing is constantly happening with you, good or bad, it's a result of your decisions, and it's a result of your mindset toward whatever the hard change is going to be. And also, again, it's all about the results. A guy was sent me some videos last night. It's some TV commercials that he made. He said, "What do you think?" And they're not my style of commercials. I don't necessarily like them. But I said, it doesn't matter what I think. I said, what are the results? I said, are you getting good results? Is this the message you want to give to your clients? And I did have some comments. I said, some of the things you talk about, customers don't care about. What you're saying is a very technical thing and nobody cares. And I don't know that he liked hearing that, but at least he was willing to put it out there. And he's willing to try new things. Like, when I said something was not good, he said, "Well, what do you think about this one?" And he threw another commercial at me that was more low keyed, and he's willing to change. He wants to blow his. He's in the duct cleaning business, but I love talking to all kinds of people with their business. But the main thing is, what are you willing to just shred and start over? I have people come into my business, and I do a 2-day course called Blue Collar University, and that is super fun. That is, I love doing that with them, but they've got to be willing to almost shred the entire business if they want a different result. I do need to say another announcement, though. I forgot to say it at the beginning of the show. Should have said it in the announcements phase, but I want to make sure I say it now before we close out. Clearly, this is SureFire. SureFire is a training platform that we use in the chimney industry mainly, but some other home industries use it. And we release courses every month. And so here we did a business symposium at my shop earlier this year. We had 2 days of speakers, but we recorded all of their talks. And so now we're starting to release the business symposium on SureFire. So they get dropped into your subscription. And I forgot to say, last month we dropped the first 2 courses we dropped in last month were really good. The first one was by Chuck Hall, who you guys know from Winston Services out of Washington, D.C. His company, or his program, was called Questions to Answer to Run a Successful Business. Chuck is always funny and very entertaining. So he dropped that course. And then also Jim Brewer talked about creating a culture of safety in your company, just a thought process of safety. And Jim's got some great stories, and he talks about how it's a really smart business move too. Very, very good class he did. The next class that is dropping in the next couple of days for the 1st of November is the price of admission. Steve Trumbull runs Chimney Doctors out of Minneapolis, and he's one of those guys that is moving. He's not afraid to ask questions. He's not afraid to eat humble pie, and he will tear down anything and change it instantly as soon as he finds a better idea. He is one of the fastest movers in our industry to try and do new things. And so Steve's a friend of mine, and he did a great class. It's the first time he ever spoke in public and did a fantastic job. It's called The Price of Admission. And then the last class was by Allison Reynolds. She's a CPA, CFO. LaShonda, if she's still listening, LaShonda, I think, knows her from our BNI group. But she talks about the secrets your CPA isn't telling you. And she had a really interesting class on ways to save money, ways to make more money, how to properly classify. And man, to me, finances could be just boring as can be. Somebody tell me about finances. I just want to, I hate it, but you need it. And some people love it. So my chief financial officer was in there, and she's got great information. And so those are the 4 classes that are on SureFire for this month. And so if you have a subscription with us, you have access to those. We have, I think, 16 classes from the business symposium, and we're dropping on there. Also, lastly, my whole Blue Collar University course, there's 14 segments. I had it filmed by Cumberland Creative, who's very good, high quality videos. We're getting ready to put that on SureFire, as well as a la carte. You can buy the whole packet as a course. And I kind of go through the big things I go through in Nashville, but obviously you save the money from coming to Nashville, and it's all the big ideas that we talk about and the questions that, you need to answer as a business to grow it if you want to. So that's a little promotional advertising for SureFire. I normally don't do it because I just want it to be a conversation. If you like SureFire, great. If you don't, hey, we'll just still talk. Doesn't matter. If you don't even need it, because a lot of people coming in from LinkedIn have no need for it. So this is more just a business talk show. Again, please come back. Please come see me. I do this every Tuesday if I'm in town. If I'm not, you just go wait till we get back, or I might have somebody else host the show. Sometimes I have guests. If you guys have a guest that would be good on this show, LaShonda, if you're still listening, I think I need to have you on this show to talk about insurance. So because I think you've got some really great stuff. If I need to reach out to you and get you on the show to be a guest and talk about insurance that businesses need. All right, guys, that's my time. We're a little bit early, but I hope you have a good night, and we'll talk to you next week. See you.